Listen closely. Right now, deep inside an unmapped northern valley, a biological heart is beating. But it is entirely encased in solid, high-purity gold. This isn't ancient magic or a lost artifact. It is a living, breathing biological anomaly that completely shatters our understanding of evolution. Nature has just designed the ultimate apex predator. And it doesn't hunt with violence. It hunts with flawless, hypnotic beauty. By the time you realize you are trapped, your blood has already turned to metal. Welcome to the Golden Silence. When the first specialized research teams breached the outer perimeter of this restricted northern corridor, they expected to find localized magnetic disruptions, or perhaps a rare, highly concentrated vein of heavy mineral deposits. Instead, they walked directly into a silence so absolute it pressed against their eardrums like deep water. There is no sound of rustling leaves in this forest, no warning calls of nesting birds, and no low hum of summer insects. The entire ecosystem exists in a state of suspended, glittering animation, locked beneath a heavy canopy that filters the afternoon sun into a permanent metallic haze. Deep within the central clearing of this zone stands a massive stag. Its entire body shimmers with a brilliant, highly reflective coat of pure gold. At a distance of 50 feet, any human observer would mistake it for an opulent masterpiece of classical sculpture, a priceless tribute forged by a master jeweler. But if you stand in the freezing mountain air and watch the creature long enough, you will detect a slight, rhythmic tremor along its gilded flank. The animal is still breathing. Its metabolic rate has been reduced to nearly zero, and its natural organic fluids have been completely replaced by shimmering, metallic compound that acts as a highly conductive biological grid. This is the work of a specialized, symbiotic subterranean organism known to speculative researchers as the Aureus Mycelium. Unlike common terrestrial fungal networks that break down organic matter to return essential nutrients to the soil, this silent predator acts as an absolute preservation agent. It does not destroy its host, it integrates with it at a cellular level. As a living creature inhales the microscopic spores drifting through the air, the mycelium gradually replaces carbon and water with a dense, gold-colored crystalline matrix, locking the physical structure of the host into a permanent, highly durable state of preservation. How does this organism capture swift-moving wildlife without a single struggle? The answer lies in the very air of the valley. The transition begins with a shift in atmospheric density, an icy weight that literally slows your breath. A fine, shimmering dust hangs constantly in the air, resembling golden sunbeams permanently caught in a jar, while emitting a faint, persistent aroma of old honey and ozone. This is not just a visual spectacle. It is a highly effective airborne sedative. As the glowing dust settles quietly on your jacket and your eyelashes, the chemical compound causes an immediate reduction in heart rate and blood pressure. Your fight or flight response is entirely neutralized. It is an irresistible, peaceful invitation to simply stand still and admire the environment, while the microscopic spores seamlessly weave through your muscles and nerves, taking hold of your limbs in a state of permanent metallic grace. In our standard ecological models, death is an inevitable, chaotic process of decay. The Aureus Mycelium completely bypasses this reality. When an organism reaches a certain threshold of exposure, the gilding process accelerates rapidly. The result is a forest populated by lifelike figures that look as though they could wake up at any second. A wolf is caught mid-stride, its metallic fur catching the morning light. A hawk sits with wings spread wide atop a brilliant bronze branch. Even tiny insects on the bark are transformed into exquisite golden brooches. They are not dead in the traditional sense, yet they are entirely stripped of their agency, preserved forever in a grand, silent gallery. This biological trap is completely indifferent to the complexity of human physiology. 3 years ago, a prominent researcher named Lena Voss entered the northern range to investigate these high reflectivity anomalies. She was equipped with advanced monitoring gear, environmental sensors, and satellite communication systems. When her scheduled check-ins ceased, a retrieval team traced her coordinates to the edge of a particularly brilliant thicket. There were no signs of a struggle, no tracks of large predators, and no distress signals. Her camera equipment sat undisturbed on a heavy tripod, its high-definition lens coated in a fine, glittering yellow powder. The recovered data from Lena's camera revealed a progression that was both mesmerizing and unsettling. The final recorded images showed a forest of such intense brilliance that the camera's sensor was nearly overwhelmed by the golden light bouncing off the trees. In the last 40 minutes of the footage, a figure is seen standing perfectly still in the center of a bronze glade. It is Lena. Her hand is outstretched toward a gleaming leaf, frozen in a gesture of simple curiosity. For the entire duration of the remaining recording, she does not move a single muscle. Her posture remains relaxed, her expression calm, as the shimmering dust slowly settles over her gear and her clothing. When the recovery team finally reached the exact coordinates shown in the footage, they found no trace of an organic human body. Instead, they stood before a flawless, golden statue of Lena Voss. Every fold of her jacket, every strand of her hair, and even the synthetic fabric of her camera strap had been perfectly converted into a solid, shimmering metallic material. Her face bore an expression of absolute, unbothered serenity, free of fear or pain. She looked as though she were simply waiting for the morning sun to warm the valley. The team attempted to recover her form for scientific analysis and autopsy, hoping to find a way to reverse the process. However, any attempt to move her proved impossible. Her boots had integrated seamlessly into the metallic root structures of the trees beneath her. She was physically anchored to the earth, a permanent structural component of the forest floor. To force her extraction would have meant shattering the exquisite, crystalline matrix that now defined her physical existence. She had to be left behind, a permanent resident of the Golden Valley, forever preserved at the moment of her discovery. This phenomenon forces us to reconsider our understanding of evolutionary success. Standard evolutionary theory dictates that organisms must adapt, reproduce, and constantly change to survive in a hostile world. Yet the Aureus Mycelium offers an entirely different path: survival through absolute stagnation. By arresting all biological processes, by freezing the host in an immortal, unchanging state, the fungus eliminates the threats of predation, starvation, disease, and decay. The Golden Forest is not a graveyard in the traditional sense. It is a monument to a highly advanced, alternative form of life that has chosen stability over adaptation. Researchers who have analyzed the atmospheric data brought back from the perimeter suggest that the Aureus Mycelium is not a localized anomaly, but an ancient survival mechanism that may have existed dormant beneath the Earth for millennia. Its metallic properties suggest an origin tied to deep crust mineral deposits, where the fungus learned to bind heavy elements to organic structures. The fact that it can maintain a host's heart in a state of suspended slow-motion activity, beating once every 12 minutes, suggests a level of biological engineering that exceeds our current medical capabilities. It raises the question of whether this organism is a relic of the past or a harbinger of the planet's ecological future. Historical archives contain whisperings of similar phenomena that were long dismissed as myth. In ancient texts from the classical era, travelers wrote of hidden groves where travelers turned to stone, and of legendary kings whose touch could transform living tissue into precious metals. While modern historians categorize the legend of Midas as a simple moral fable about greed, the discovery of the Aureus Mycelium suggests a different possibility. Perhaps these ancient stories were not metaphors at all, but early encounters with localized outbreaks of this highly specialized organism, preserved in the collective memory of humanity as cautionary tales. The true danger lies in the potential transportability of these spores. Currently, the unique geographic features of the Northern Valley, its high mountain walls and specific atmospheric pressure zones, keep the shimmering dust contained. But ecosystems are dynamic. A shift in global weather patterns, a severe storm, or even an unwitting explorer carrying the spores on their gear could introduce the Aureus Mycelium to the wider world. If these highly resilient spores were to adapt to milder climates, the consequences would be catastrophic and beautiful in equal measure. Consider a scenario where a single microscopic spore from this valley finds its way into a major global metropolis. It settles silently in the subway systems, the public parks, and the air filtration units of towering skyscrapers. The initial symptoms would be imperceptible. A pleasant, sweet scent of honey and ozone drifting through the streets. A subtle calming effect on a stressed, fast-paced population. People would find themselves pausing on their commutes, stopping in the middle of busy intersections to admire the unusually bright sunset, feeling a sudden, deep sense of peace. Within days, the first golden figures would appear on the sidewalks, perfectly preserved in mid-conversation, frozen in moments of quiet reflection. The lines between our cities and the natural world would begin to blur as concrete and steel are slowly covered in a fine, shimmering metallic dust. The constant motion of human civilization, the traffic, the construction, the endless rush, would gradually slow to a rhythmic, silent crawl. The world would not end in a chaotic blast or a violent collapse, but in a quiet, golden transition. A world where the hustle of modern life is permanently captured in a series of breathtaking, metallic monuments, frozen in time under a quiet sky. This process would challenge the very foundations of modern medicine and philosophy. If a patient suffering from a terminal illness were to enter the perimeter of the valley, their disease would be halted instantly, locked in place alongside their healthy cells. They would not die, but they would no longer live in the dynamic, changing sense of the word. They would exist as a permanent monument of their final moment. Would we view this as a form of salvation, a way to preserve our loved ones forever? Or would we recognize it as the ultimate loss of human experience? It challenges our very definition of what it means to be alive. If a creature can exist for centuries without aging, without suffering, and without changing, is that a state of loss, or is it the ultimate form of protection? The Aureus Mycelium presents a mirror to our own search for longevity and immortality. We spend billions of dollars trying to halt the aging process, to preserve our youth, and to escape the inevitability of decay. Yet when confronted with an organism that has achieved exactly that, we find ourselves filled with a deep, unsettling dread. Perhaps we fear the realization that immortality requires us to give up the very thing that makes us human, our ability to move, to change, and to feel. Scientific communities remain divided on how to handle the existence of the valley. Some advocate for its complete isolation, proposing a military-enforced exclusion zone to prevent any organic material from leaving or entering. Others suggest that the mycelium holds the key to the future of space travel and long-term biological preservation. If the mechanism of the Aureus Mycelium could be synthesized and controlled, it could allow astronauts to travel across vast interstellar distances, locked in a state of golden biostasis, only to be revived when they reach their destination. But such theories remain highly speculative, as no researcher has yet figured out how to reverse the crystallization process once it begins. The Aureus Mycelium forces us to ask a terrifying question. If you could permanently escape aging, disease, and death, but had to exist as a conscious, golden statue forever, would you take the deal? And more importantly, what do you think would happen if a single spore of this golden parasite blew into the subway systems of New York or London? Drop your darkest scenarios in the comments below. I read every single one. If you want to survive the true horrors of nature's evolution, hit that subscribe button and join the What If Animals archive. Stay observant, keep questioning, and remember, absolute perfection is the deadliest trap of all.